Hey, excuse my look and face, and I'm just feeling comfy today. And excuse the chair, it's a little squeaky, but I just wanted to hop on today. I had a little time alone to kind of just chat before I get to doing the other stuff that I need to do in my day. But yeah, so my last video kind of was a broad look at what I had been not going through with anxiety, but I kind of just gave an overall look to my understanding of my anxiety. But I thought that, like, why not get into how it started, what I had to go through, hurt relationships, how I started my road to getting better and things like that. So I said, why not, you know? So let's just jump into it. I think that I've always had anxiety. I myself believe that I have. No one has told me, a doctor never told me or anything, but now that I know what anxiety is and I take a look back into my childhood, I understand the symptoms that I was going through as a child are symptoms of anxiety. So when I was a little girl, I suffered from really bad stomach pain. I just would have these random stomach aches and no one knew what to do about it. My mom would take me to doctor visits, and doctors would make me do blood tests. They would run different tests. They would collect stool samples, everything you can think of. They tried and nothing came out of it. It was, we don't know what's wrong with your daughter, ma'am. She's fine. She's perfectly fine. So my mom would go to her mother's house, my grandmother. And since I was little, I remember her always saying, La niña tiene nervios. So in English, that translates to the girl has nerves. And I, being little, thought the whole time, so I'm talking about little, like 4 years old, till maybe early teenage years. The whole time I kind of thought that nervios was like literally a vital organ in me that was causing my stomach to hurt. I didn't know that. The whole time she literally meant an emotion, a fear, worry. She was telling my mom that this little girl is worried about something. She is nervous. She's thinking and thinking, and it's making her sick. Nothing was ever explained to me. I just thought, okay, well, grandma gave it a name, so nervios it is. That's what I have. So every time my stomach would hurt, it'd be nervios. So I would drink teas, but it would never really go away. A little background. I was raised by a single mother, one sibling in the household, which was my older brother. He is older than me by 6 years. We had a rocky relationship as well. I had a rocky relationship with my mom. I had a rocky relationship with my dad. I love them so much. But I didn't feel like I ever belonged. Like, I don't know. I just always felt different. Yeah, I don't ever feel like I ever belonged, but me and my mom, she has my heart. She really does, and she's been through a lot, and so I became kind of her confidant. Like, I just wanted to make sure she was always okay. I need to make sure my mom is okay, not knowing that I was harming myself in doing that, as now probably like a 7-8 year old, um, giving my mom, you know, advice for the things that she was going through in her life. There would be a lot of arguments between her and my father, and just really ugly moments. So my getaway from my own household and the family dynamic there was my aunt's house, my mom's sister. I would go there a lot. It was my getaway. I would get attention there, healthy attention, because my mom she did what she had to do to help me survive. You know, she fed me, put a roof over my head. She tried her best to have fun with us, but herself was going through something so deep that it was really hard for her to be 100% there for me, you know. But so I believe that my anxiety stems there. Um, my mom worries a lot. She still does to this day. And I think that is something that I took on too. I worry a lot. So anytime I was away from my mom, I worried about her. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be with her. I was worried. So fast forward to my first anxiety, a panic attack. I was just shy of my 25th birthday. It was like 2 days before. My brother had invited me to, well, myself and my husband, because we are 1 day apart. So he invited us for our birthdays to his house. He was gonna make us dinner, and I was excited. But the thing about that was, my brother is very punctual. He's so punctual. And I always get nervous that I'm not going to be on time and he's gonna get upset. And so I remember rushing my husband, but he couldn't get out from work as fast as, you know, I wanted. So I told him to meet me there. I'm not sure if the stress from that kind of triggered something, or I don't know. But I was on the freeway with my son. My son was maybe about 4. He was in the back seat, and we were bumping Selena, and we were singing, and we were so into the music. And all of a sudden, I started seeing these like black specks in my vision, and I kind of was like, okay, whoa, it's all right. Like, blink a couple times, you'll be fine. But then my vision started to like kind of tunnel in. And that's when I looked at my side mirror, and as I was looking, I said, like a little prayer, like, God, take care of me. Like, I'm scared. I was on the freeway, and it can get ugly real quick on a freeway. So I looked at my side mirror and saw that the whole lanes were empty in that moment. So I was like, okay. So I pulled over. Shortly after, like, these big rigs started to pass by, and they were passing, you know, I'm stopped and they're doing 65. So my car is shaking, like rocking. I mean, it's rocking and rocking, and my son is crying in the back. He doesn't know what's going on. Mom, I'm crying, so he's extra scared. In that moment, I wasn't thinking about his emotions. I was just thinking, how am I gonna get us safe? Anywhere. I just didn't get anywhere off this freeway. No one was able to get to me, so I had to carefully drive to my brother's house. Got to my brother's house, let him know that I just wasn't feeling right, you know. My husband ended up meeting me there, and we the night seemed okay. I felt a little weird, but I figured I'm just shaken up. I don't know. So the next day I had a whole day planned for my husband and I for our birthdays. So I had a lunch planned, a couples massage, which we had never done at that point, I think. So we go to, it was like brunch, I believe. We go, and I'm sitting there, and I just, like, all the sounds around me, just, it was too much. And I was sitting there, and I'm like, why can't I just sit in this restaurant and enjoy this time? Like, I was looking around, and I was looking kind of for validation. I'm like, is anyone else looking? Like, am I picking up on some weird energy in here? Like, what's going on? And no, it was just me. And my world started to kind of spin, and I told my husband, I don't feel good. Like, something's going on. We left the restaurant, and my husband suggested that we continue on with the couples massage, being that it's relaxing. And so, okay, let's go try it. So we went, and that was probably a horrible idea, because you know how they place your face in those donut pillows? The whole time that I was in there, so I'm not one to really complain. Like, you know, if a dentist pulling out my tooth, even if it hurts, I just won't. I just kind of just take it. So in that moment, I didn't want to make a scene, or I just sucked it up. But I felt, I didn't know what it was then, but I was feeling claustrophobic. So when we left there, I told my husband, I need to go to the doctor. This is something's wrong. So my doctor's office had after hours. We went, and I was told I had vertigo. At that point, I was like, oh, bummer, vertigo. All right, whatever, ruined my birthday plans. So I was taking medication for days, and I started to notice that it just wasn't going away. So I was kind of like, what's going on, you know? So then I went back to the doctors, and I told them, you know, the medication you've given me, it's not working. I feel worse. I'm getting worse. So long story short, I went through ER visits. I went through CT scans. I went through just asking for answers from doctors who were just they kind of had this attitude where I gave you what you needed, your medication, and that's all. Like, you want me to look into it? I'm not gonna look into it. So it was kind of like I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. So once I asked for an MRI, and I said, okay, well, something's going on. Something's going on in my brain. I'm being affected. I can't drive. At the time, I was still a student, and I was still an employee. I was a manager at a restaurant. I couldn't go to work or school without feeling just so sick, dizzy at all times. And yeah, that sounds like vertigo, right? It just makes sense. So I asked for an MRI. Okay, well, maybe this will show us something. So I went in for the MRI, and I felt that this was going to give me all the answers I needed. I was so excited because I fought for this MRI. I was so excited. My husband was excited. This is it. And I get in, and they push me into the the MRI machine. And they said, okay, it's going to be about 20 minutes. And, they gave me instructions. And then the lady stepped out. And as soon as, I was pushed into the full capacity, and I kind of heard that little, it was like a little, sounded like maybe like a little lock sound or something. I needed to get out. So I said, I need to get out. And no one was responding to me. No one came in. And I started pounding in that machine. And I'm like, how aren't they coming in to take me out? Like, don't they see me in the screen that, I'm moving, I need to get out. And they left me there for like a minute. I think when the lady stepped out, she went to go grab form, and that's when it just went all bad. And from that point on, it got 100% worse. I now had trust issues with, you know, the medical teams that I would be with. For CAT scans, I just was like, but you know, you're gonna stand here, right? I was just so afraid of everything. I didn't realize that I didn't like closed spaces, which now I was like, okay, I don't like closed spaces. So elevators were out of the question, narrow staircases, places that had too many people. I was claustrophobic. So now I'm like, wow, add this on top of what I'm feeling. And so I met with the psychiatrist. That was my next move, because I called a mental health line. And well, actually, I called my insurance and told them that I believe I have depression, and they said to call the mental health line. So I called them, and they referred me to a facility. So I went in, got evaluated, and I started speaking to the psychiatrist, who told me that I definitely had anxiety and panic disorder. Severe. At that point, it was severe. So I went to my regular doctor, and this doctor told me, this doctor was an angel. The first day I met him, he was a new doctor, FYI. I had switched up doctors. I didn't like my previous one, wasn't getting the help I needed. But this doctor, I met him, and I explained my whole situation, and the first thing he told me was, you're gonna get better. We are going to beat this thing, no matter how long it takes. I'm gonna be here, and we're gonna do this, okay? You will beat anxiety. I remember leaving that appointment crying, and it just kind of brings tears to my eyes, because in that moment, I needed to hear that. Because you kind of feel like there's no outlet, and there's nothing you can do, and there's no help, and like, it's just hard. And so when he told me that, I felt like a breath of fresh air. I felt relief. And I went home and I called my family, and I was like, this doctor said he's gonna get rid of it for me. Like, not for me, but he's gonna work with me, and we're gonna do this, and he's amazing. And yeah, he really he tried. He really tried, and he put me on medication. He said, you know, I would much rather you go the natural route, but let's just stabilize it first. So he put me on this medication, and I got better. I was living life so comfortably. I would say for like about 2 months or so. But because I was feeling good, I wanted to get off. I said, you know what? I think I'm better now. I don't want to depend on medication. So he said, okay, well, you need to gradually get off, because it's like dangerous for your brain, and you know, the chemicals. And I said, okay. So I gradually got off, and that's when I hit the lowest part of this whole journey, because I started to become like, I have suicidal thoughts. I would have to tell my husband or my sister-in-law that they needed to grab my son. They needed to watch him real quick. Like, if we were just in the room, I would have to go tell my sister-in-law can he hang out with you for a little bit, because I'm just not in the right state of mind, and I don't know, I don't feel right, and I don't feel right. So then I would tell my husband, and can you stay with me just so I don't do anything? And I would just have like ugly thoughts. It didn't last long, but after these ugly thoughts episode, after it was probably like 2 days of it, after that my anxiety was just horrible, and I went back to my doctor and I told him, and he said, well, yeah, because you were doing better because you were on it, you know. And I said, but I want to be on like a natural thing. I don't want medication, because my family was just telling me like medicine's not the way to go, like what are you doing? And I was listening to my family, and I didn't want to disappoint them, so I did what they wanted from me, which was wrong, because only I know what I need, you know. So before I knew it, I was on this plan with my doctor, and one of my last visits with him, he told me to, if he ever wasn't there, to see, he gave me a name of another doctor who he trusts. So I said, okay. And I kind of thought that he meant if ever there's a day that I need to go see him, because I was in the doctor's office like twice a week. If ever there was a day that I needed to go see him and he wasn't in that day, to see this other doctor. So I said, okay. Little did I know, he took a leave. He had cancer, so he left, and my world shattered, like, because in that time, he was my only hope. I didn't have hope in anyone else. I didn't believe in anyone else, or not even in myself. For some reason, when I would see him, I felt that I was gonna get better. And so I went to see this other doctor. My psychiatrist ended up putting me on medication again. Wasn't the same one, it was a different one this time. And I was getting a little better. At this point, the severity of the anxiety and panic disorder was bad. I couldn't get out of bed sometimes. I was depressed. I was moping around. I had no energy to do anything. I just wanted to be in bed because it made me sick to my stomach. What I was feeling. Anxiety is so indescribable. For me, it wasn't so much thoughts. I did think, but think about what would happen if I do this? I'm gonna pass out. Or for a small period of time, I did believe that because of anxiety, I was dying. I was going to die. And if it wasn't me believing that, I believed that I was going crazy. I am crazy. I'm insane. I'm losing my mind. I'm no longer Athena. I'm crazy. And my family would call me crazy too. Some family members would just say, you're just crazy. You're just crazy. But they didn't realize that their little jokes, because it was jokes, they don't really think I'm crazy. It's just hard for them to understand, the thought of what I was going through is just absurd and crazy, you know? But I started to see a psychiatrist, a therapist, a physician. All of these things put together did help a little. Not as much as when I had gotten on the very first medication. I was like a brand new person. I was living the life. I was completely back, but to get on that medication and the come off, I think that if I didn't have good communication and was open about my feelings, I would have done harm to myself. I didn't think to harm anyone else. I had only thought to harm myself. But because at that moment, I didn't care what anyone thought, I needed to ask for help. And I was gonna ask for help wherever it was gonna be handed out, like given to me, you know? Okay, you don't want to help me? Next, let me go ask this person to help me then. I just knew that that wasn't who I was. I was so big on like how suicidal's not the answer, and I wanted to go into so many studies about the brain, and I wanted to study that in college, and I was so intrigued with my psychology classes, and so this just wasn't who I was. It wasn't. But I was robbed of my identity by this freaking ugly thing. But all while this was going on, my husband started his nursing program. He entered the nursing program to become a registered nurse. He went to school like I think it was like 7 a.m. to, I'm not sure if it was like 2 or 3. He had to do hours. So this man would somehow, he never missed one day out of the 2 years of his program, but somehow still managed to take me to all my doctor's visits, ER visits. Never made me feel, I mean, there was times when I can see he was so tired, like he was tired, but he never gave up on me. And I never had that really before, like, but for some reason that just wasn't like enough for my hope. Like, that's not where I found my strength, because I was so upset that I couldn't find it in myself. But he never like left my side. It got so hard between him and I. So hard. And I'm just glad that he saw right through that illness. Like he knew that wasn't who I was. He would try to motivate me. He would pay for gym memberships. He would anything I needed, anything I wanted, just so he can see me smile for a moment. That's what he would do. It's hard to talk about because it was such an ugly part of my life. In therapy, they asked that I talk to my family about the stuff I went through, how their actions have affected my adult life. But I think I learned to heal on my own. I didn't want to bring that up. I brought it up to my mom and my brother, a couple family members, about how I was affected as a child due to, you know, some of their actions. And but I didn't go into detail. I didn't want to burden people more than I feel like I already had. But I was told to tell them everything. And I couldn't bear to see my mom hurt again. She had went through so much already. I couldn't bear to make her relive it. So I made a promise to myself to not make my mom go through pain and to not let her feel responsible for what I was going through, because it wasn't her, it wasn't solely her, it was just a lot played into it. But so I had to just keep it to myself, and I learned to heal within myself. I started doing these, I wouldn't know how to describe it. Maybe like thought diaries. I wasn't writing anything down. I would from time to time, but not really. I do like to write, but I think I was so afraid that people were going to find it. And I started to just tell myself, you were given the life you were given, and that's it. I just deal with it. You know, I started to tell myself, just deal with it. Stop moping and stop pitying like yourself. Stop wanting others to pity you. Just deal with it. Accept it. Heal from it and move on. You know, I can't let my past write my future. And if I continued the way I was, that's just what was going to happen. I was just going to be miserable all the time, like I was. But all through that, I was still feeling sick. This was now probably 2 years into the anxiety now that it was labeled. I obviously was looking into it and feeding my mind with information that it needed, but yet it didn't, because my mind kind of took it as, okay, so let me just give you what you learned. So you learned that anxiety has to be like this, this, and that, and I'm anxiety, so let me just give you this, this, and that. And there was a point when I felt that I wanted to stop talking to my family, because I just felt no one understood me. No one understands what it is, really. And it's as simple as don't think about it. And it's simple as go get some sun outside. Or it's as simple as keep yourself busy. If it was really that simple, I'm 100% sure we would have all tried that and we would have succeeded at it. It's not that simple. Trying to get sun outside, being active, not thinking about it is so much easier than dealing with this shit. So I would much rather not think about it and have it go away. But guess what? That's not the answer, and that's not the solution. So people think that because it's easier said than done. It's not that simple. It's, for me, it was literally my mind telling me I'm blowing up. It's just so much trauma and so much feelings, and I can't anymore. I can't. And it was my brain's cry for help. So that was hard. Because I had family telling me all the time, just, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. You're crazy. You're this. You're unhealthy. You're dramatic. You are weak. That one hurt. And when I was told that I was weak, I played it off like, okay. But little did that person know I had to be strong for so long. I had to be so strong emotionally. But these words hurt. They hurt so bad. And people don't understand. They really don't. And I just hope that people can, if you don't know about it, you don't have to say anything. You really don't. There's so much support in your presence. You don't always have to try to find the perfect things to say. Because if you've never been through it, you won't know even what to say, and you'll end up saying the wrong thing. And every time I was called crazy, it would push me like 5 steps back, because it was validating my doubt in my head that, yeah, you're right. I'm not gonna get better. You're right. And that's what that was doing. So just be careful with your words. And for you who are suffering, when people say things like that, as hard as it is, have compassion for them too. I think because a lot of times the wrong thing comes out because they want so bad for you to get better. And when they don't get better, when you don't get better, they get frustrated, and they just feel lost too. It's their struggle too, as much as we don't want to accept it, because we're actually going through the pain and the changes and the hardships, but our families are going through it with us too. And as long as we educate, that's going to be the answer to it. We just need to educate, and everyone's is different. Everyone. What worked for me isn't going to work for maybe you or someone else. It's just, it's not, we don't all need the same remedy. But back to my story, there was, after I hit that really, really bad bump, I was given, at the time, I think it was like Ativan. I don't think it was Xanax. One of the two. And what that is a medication, and it's a fast response medication. So it's only as needed. And when you feel that a panic attack is going to come on, you just take one, and it reacts pretty quickly and it calms you down. Unfortunately, the people who abuse it make it hard for us who need it. I wasn't strong enough to look for a different way. Strong enough, I still had to use this medication. So one day I go to the doctor's office, and they inform me that I was going to be seeing a different doctor. So I said, okay, that's fine. I'm just here for a refill on my medication. Keep in mind that this vial lasted me a whole year. I had the date on it. It had the previous year. So I wasn't abusing this medication. So my husband and I go because I really needed it. If I didn't have this vial in my purse, I would immediately get a panic attack, because I would feel, oh my gosh, if I start to feel sick, what am I going to do? So as soon as I would see that I had like a couple left, I'd say, oh, I need to go get a refill. And so she walked in and she asked why I was there. And I let her know that I was there for a refill. And she said, well, what's wrong with you? What do you have? I said, oh, I suffer from anxiety and panic disorder. Well, is it severe? I'm like, yeah, it is. And she's like, okay. She's like, and you need more of this medicine? And I said, yes. But because people abuse it, it's not easy to get it. So I told her, the date's here. It's been almost a year since I've gotten it. And I only take it as needed. But it comforts me knowing it's in my purse. And since I'm coming to an end, I prefer to, get more. And she said, have you ever thought about hurting yourself? And I said, yeah, it happened when I was getting off a certain medication. And she said, do you have children? And I said, yes, I have a son. Okay. Are you able to live your daily life? I said, no, not really. Right now I can't drive by myself. I can't, I'm just homebound. Literally homebound. And she steps out, she comes in and she said, I would like for you to see a social worker. And at this point I'm like confused. Like, what? Okay, I have nothing to hide. I don't care. I will go see a damn social worker. So the social worker was in the same facility. She walks us over to her. Social worker asked me what was going on and I told her. Shortly after, she no longer looked at me. She addressed all conversation to my husband. And that's when I knew that something was wrong. I felt like I wasn't a person anymore. I felt like I was a case. And so she told my husband, long story short, I'm concerned. She is a danger to herself and your child. And our advice is you take her to a mental facility for a 72-hour hold that is actually up the street. And when she said that, and I was sitting there, and she said that like if I wasn't even in the room, she didn't even look at me. I was in complete shock. No words came out because I was like, is this really happening? This is why people don't go asking for help. What is wrong with you? You cannot make people feel crazy when they're just asking for help. And I get her intentions was to keep the child safe, but there was nothing that proved that I was harming myself. My husband was with me. They could have stepped, they could have just asked him, has she ever had a situation with your son where she has, maybe yelled at him in an ugly manner or almost got into that point of abuse, or they could have asked me. And my husband said, I'm not worried about that. I trust her. She would never hurt our child. Little do they know that those times that it was just like 2 times in total, I asked for help from my husband and my sister-in-law. I asked my sister-in-law to take my child. I asked my husband to stay with me. I've even asked my brother-in-law to help, to come home and I would just cry to him too and tell him that I didn't know what was going on with me and why I would get these ugly thoughts, So they told him that he was gonna be leaving against medical advice and he needed to sign a paper, I guess, because if I ever had hurt my child, that would fall on him. I was traumatized after that. I went in for simple medication that, keep in mind, they first offered to me to help me. And now, when they see that I'm not abusing it, they have the chart there to see my progress and what I've been going through. Now when they wanted so hard for me to take something, and now that I do take it, now they want to flip the script and make it, oh, well, she needs this, it's because she's off. it was such a messed up situation. It just, every time I think about it, it just upsets me because there's so many people out there who literally are going to their doctor's office for help. That's what you hear all the time. Ask for help. Reach out. Ask for help. But when doctors act like this, instead of communicating with you, and instead of assuming, they just want to throw you under the bus. And that pissed me off. It was horrible. And I went to my therapist and I told her, and to this day, I don't know if she called the doctor's office, but I never seen that doctor there again. But my therapist was so upset at the situation. I didn't, because it took me back. It took me like not even 10 steps back. It took me 100 steps back. I was horrible. I was I was mortified. It was horrible. So I'm gonna end this video because there's just so much more to this story still, and it's gonna be a long video, so I'm gonna end it here. But for those watching, whether you guys have a mental problem, whether you have a family member who is going through something, even if they have not been diagnosed, if they're just having a bad day, reach out, give a hug, say I love you. You're not alone. No one ever wants to feel like a burden. So if someone's asking you to help them, go, can you come with me to the doctor's office? Don't roll your eyes or sigh. Yeah, sure. Just hold that in for the sake of their mental health. Because feeling like a burden is so horrible. It's ugly. It is so ugly. And just let them know every now and then that they are loved, they are supported, and you will continue to be there for them through everything when it gets really ugly. And for those who are going through it, have an understanding too that our families, it's hard. It's hard on them because they're trying to understand something that we don't even understand. We're struggling with ourselves and we want them to help us, but we can't even give them the directions on how to help us because we don't even understand this. So whatever it is you guys are going through, there is a day that it calms down and may come to an end, may show up every now and then. You just learn how to cope with it and you learn how to beat it. Whatever type of problem you're going through, nothing lasts forever. It really doesn't. And on your hardest days, believe that, because I know how hard it is to doubt that. I was so full of doubt. I doubted my faith. I doubted my family. I doubted my love. I doubted my life. So hang in there. Just do it for yourself. Hang in there. I promise there'll be better days. I still go through it. I still go through it really bad too. And then there's some days that I have amazing days. So understand that no matter how hard you work at it, you are entitled to have bad days. Everyone has bad days. Don't expect a perfect life. Where in this society, it's not gonna happen. But just be strong and don't give in to that ugly voice of anxiety or depression or anorexia or bipolar depression, panic. Don't give in. Don't give in. It's literally ourselves battling ourselves. So educate yourself and beat it. Kick it out of your home. It doesn't deserve to be there. And you deserve life. You deserve to live. You deserve to be happy. And you deserve to be loved. And don't ever forget that. On your hardest days, don't forget that. And don't be afraid to ask for help. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. I've been knocked down. I've been embarrassed. And I've been told that I wasn't going to get better. That this was it. I gotta go to the loony bin. But I didn't believe that. So guess what? Here I am, and I've proved people wrong. And I'm not crazy. None of us are. We've just been through shit that our mind is just on overload, and it's asking for help. It's asking for release. So let's give our body the release, and let's take care of ourselves. Meditate, do yoga, do exercise, eat healthier. Just take care of yourself. So I hope this was a little informative for you guys. I'll be back to film another video regarding this, just to finish up my story and to talk about where I'm at today, and my struggles today, and how they're different from my struggles when this all first started. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please share it. Share it to whoever. If you need to show this to a family member, just whatever you think is gonna help. If you need to rewatch it, if you didn't like it, it doesn't matter. I just hope to at least help one person out there. We all deserve a little love and help. Actually, we deserve a lot of love. So let's just love ourselves. Love you. Take care.